So what I got for you today is kind of a, depending on how they release, I got a whole Vaperz Cloud suicide thing going on, but we're going to be talking today about the, what I call the Valhalla Mini, or they're calling the Valhalla 28. So if you've ever seen it before, I did the original Valhalla RDA. It was a little bit older even when I had it, because then a couple months later they did the Valhalla version 2, which was of course the bigger RDA. I did a review on that one, used the heck out of that one, mostly for series because it was such a huge, like 38, I think, millimeter RDA. So this one is going to be a little different, as you'll see in the dive down. Basically what they did is they worked with Suicide Mods, and if you remember the Nightmare deck, or Nightmare RDA, was one that I had done a review on as well. I liked it, not as good as the Asgards in my opinion, the Asgard 30. But it was a little bit smaller, and you know, it for me, I didn't like the biggest con for me was the airflow. That kind of, if you remember, that slotted airflow. But the deck was really good, really easy to build. So this is kind of what they did with this. They just kind of course, shrunk the Valhalla cap because it looks just like the original big cap, but they've shrunk it down and put a different, like, airflow, essentially, like the old airflow, but still has the Nightmare deck. The only difference is you'll see on this is that is not the drip tip it comes with. That is actually a drip tip that I threw on from the Mongrel RDA. So, which will not see a review on that RDA from me. But got it on the top side dual. Been squonking a lot of that lemon meringue donut from Darkstar. Good stuff if you like lemon meringue donut. And of course, got installed in there some triple C coils, ohming out into a 0.1 build. Run it in voltage mode. I do that a lot. Run it at 3.7 volts. Give a little squonk and give you a little action here. Now usually I mute and just kind of speed it up so you don't have to sit there and watch me vape. I think that's weird, but I'm going to leave in the crackle on those guys. So triple C coils, mean coils. So, but anyway, before we get down with the Valhalla Mini, or 28, of course, as usual, ADHD moment, and of course, Viking's Advocacy Minute. Like I tell you every single time, go on to Twitter and support our Vape Advocate Generals. That is Grim Green, Sam, the Vaping Bogan, Matt from Suck My Mod, Phil Dimitri, all those guys, all the big guys are on there supporting for all of our rights to vape. So definitely go help them out. Give them some support and kind of check out their political connections that they're doing to help us all. And then, of course, the ADHD awareness moment. Like I said, if you can get a chance, if you have the disorder, interested about the disorder at all, definitely go check out How to ADHD. She does some really great video content, works with a lot of leading experts in the field of the disorder, because yes, it is a disorder. It's one thing I'm trying to do, is trying to break the stigma of it, especially in my age group where we always just thought people were dumb or too hyper or stupid and all that kind of stuff. No, it's not what it is. It's a disorder, and I just want to let everybody know that, hey, your mind is different, and different is beautiful. So thank you guys so much for supporting me on that cause. So, but I'm ready. Are you ready? Yeah, I think we're ready. Let's go and drop the hammer on the Valhalla Mini. All right, so what I got for you today is pretty anticipated by me, at least. RDA, this is going to be the Valhalla RDA. I know Vaperz Cloud has made several renditions of this. They had the old school one, the large one, then they V2'd it essentially, did some improvements. And this one, not only being by Vaperz Cloud, they actually went into collaboration, of course, with Suicide on this. And like on the back here, or I guess the side, it is a 28mm RDA. You get two 810s, and it is the Nightmare style deck. Dual diffuse bottom airflow, Vaperz Cloud, Suicide. Your color configuration, and then some social media stuff here. But other than that, looks like the packaging wise, the V2 Valhalla came in one of these instead of the big cardboard one. And I've had both V1 and V2 of the big boy Valhallas. So, and the Nightmare was pretty decent. So hopefully this will do a little bit better, kind of a nice mixture in between the two. So, but in here you're gonna get everything in a pouch that's included into the tin or canister. And of course in the pouch you're going to have the accessories bag, which is going to be another 810 drip tip, your O-rings. There is a, if I can get it to move in here, There is going to be a couple of the grub screws in there, and then there is a solid copper 510. So if we look at the bottom of the base deck here, it is squonkable, of course, and it's preset to squonk right now. So what you're essentially going to do with this one is, instead of the quick release system that Vaperz Cloud has done with the traditional like Asgards and stuff, you have these squonk fill pins or plugs, whatever you want to call them. You can throw one of those down in there and that will seal it up. Now, I know that there's some kind of controversy slash which side of the gate are you on? Do you want solid pin or do you want the removable plug? I, for one, have several Asgard minis and several of the 30mm Asgards. They all, except for one, are the squonk plug. I have not had a single issue. I know that there are people out there, people's word I trust as well, that they leak pretty constantly. I guess I've gotten lucky, never have had that problem. I will probably just go ahead and leave this with a squonk plug instead of the solid pin. Main reason why is because this is a decent size RDA to use for squonking purposes. I usually use the Asgard Mini, so if I really dig this, I will probably end up using this because it does fit on the topside dual just fine. I used to use the full-size Asgard on my topside dual, and you could see on my 30mm, the one I use the most, there's some scratches and scuffs around the edge because it just barely fits on that topside dual. So if this does just as well, this is another 28mm I can actually squonk fairly well on the dual. But we'll get past that, and on the bottom you got suicide mods here. You got your serial number, you got your negative pin there, or negative post pin, and then of course, like I said, your squonk plugs there. You can use the included, which I believe, forgot that was in there, but you have two Allen wrenches, whatever you want to call them. The reason why there's two is this big one is going to be to take out this to go into, if you want to use the solid pin instead, the solid copper, or this little one, which I definitely say if you've had an Asgard or have an Asgard, that little Allen wrench you get, it is a specific size. You want to keep that, very, very much so, because that is such a particular size that most normal Allen wrenches you'd have on hand will not fit into that guy. So there's been several times I've went hunting for that. But just like the Asgards, all you're going to do is take and pull one of these guys out here. All right, once you got it out, you just put it in there. And just make sure you're just barely snug there. And that's it. And that's, again, I've never had a single problem with the Asgards doing that. So I don't know if maybe somebody's tightened them too tight or not tight enough in fear that it'll strip it out. But if you do it that way, at least my luck, never had an issue. All right, so on the outside, you'll see if you've ever seen the original Valhallas, it basically looks like a shrunken down version of it. So it has that kind of top dome and then that heavy deep inset there. And of course, the logo as usual. This is their new polished gunmetal. It is kind of fingerprinty, but that's kind of what happens with anything polished. Now, one of the big differences you're going to see versus the Nightmare, which is a deck it uses, and even the Valhalla V1, is the airflow here. Just nice little almost honeycomb airflow there. Insignia and everything has stayed the same. Drip tips are roughly about the same, but instead of the Valhalla where they're proprietary, the full size, these are just going to be a regular 810. And what we'll do is see what it looks like with, yeah, nice little ultra sexy super low there. So yeah, let's open this up. Let's throw it on a bearded Viking stand here. All right, as we pop off the top, you'll see the top fairly simple. Nothing, not a whole lot new or interesting. I wouldn't say interesting, but nothing really going on here that's you haven't seen before. The doming essentially is going to be, in my opinion, much better than, of course, the big ones. Because the big guys, I mean, really all you were doing was just putting a cover on your coils. Where this one, it is a bit different. And it's kind of hard to see because it's all black in there. But you do have an inner lock in there as well. and you can kind of see it a little better there. It's the only bad thing about being a black and gunmetal user is when because I buy, I'm independent, so I buy all this stuff pretty much myself. There's some gifts here and there, but I would, if I dug the straight stainless steel, these would be a whole lot easier to see details and stuff. But I use these. I buy them, so I'm going to get the colors I like. But hopefully you guys can see that it's, like I said, just a little notch there and there. And then on the other side. And it prevents it from having a free spin, so you can take it off your mod better. Okay, now we're down to the deck. So it is just the 2-post deck design. I mean, literally from this point on, if you've not seen the Nightmare review I did, great. If you have, sorry, it's the same thing, guys. Which is not bad. This one was, I ranked it just a tad under the Asgards for flavor and all that. And mainly with that, it was the outside airflow, in my opinion. But essentially what you're looking at is your 2-post. They are just the gold posts and some grub screws, flat heads, and then you have your airflow here. So you got your 3 small ones and then your 1 large one. So it is an under coil airflow. Now, what that thing does with that airflow is you got your big airflow straight at the bottom, and then you got these ones that are more of an angle. So what that essentially is going to do is help smooth that out, but also get you some side coil airflow. And then, of course, these are your notches here that's going to catch onto that top cap. Fairly deep juice well. So this is going to be a good squonking, but also a good dripping RDA, because you could literally have a decent pool of juice down in there and not have an issue with it leaking, especially because a lot of people don't like the bottom or under coil airflow because they're prone to leaking. Nice thing with that is I would definitely suggest, like the Nightmare, you're going to have your coils sitting right above that airflow, so don't drip directly onto your coils. With the mouthpieces, the drip tips, even this one's kind of the smaller in diameter, you'll be able to literally drip straight down. And yeah, it might get a little bit on the coils, but not enough to really kind of, flood the airflows. But mostly it's going to go down in there, pool down in there, and then your capillary action will bring, your juice up there. But with that being said, very, very deep, nicely deep. You shouldn't have an issue there. And just like typical Vapor Cloud style, you have your 2 O-rings here. What I always suggest, I always clean everything before I use it. Take whatever juice you're using and building at that time, put a little on your finger, or even put some here and spread it around with your finger. It'll help with their top caps tremendously. So, and then of course there's your airflow here. You got 1 on that side and 1 on that side. Nice, big, and deep. But unlike the Nightmare, where it was kind of a big holes and it was either a lot of airflow or practically none, this you're going to be able to dial in a bit better with that honeycomb. So it should draw way smoother, in my opinion. But I've already pre-cut the coils I'm going to do for these. And of course, as usual, the coils that I am going to use are Triple C's coils, some NI90 Mech Aliens. So shout out to Triple C for always being so generous, sending me coils for the channel. And to give you a real quick look, if you haven't seen them before, there are a couple of his NI90 Aliens, some Mech Aliens. Very, very beautiful hand custom jobs there. I've already pre-cut them to 6mm, and I know there are people out there that wonder, well, how do you figure out when they stack up like this how you would pre-cut them? Because most would take and put the coil in this way, clip the leads, put the other coil in, try to pull them up and clip them. I try to pre-cut as much as possible. It technically makes it more difficult to get them both in at the same time and get them right, but it saves me from trying to pull the legs up on the other one and try to clip it and not touch the other coil. But with pretty much any RDA, there's some exceptions out there. You'll want a coily tool if you can. And all I do is take a look at the deck here and on the posts. That's what these little side things are for. A lot of people wonder what these are actually for. Now, there's different ways you can do it. Most of the time, it's meant to go from the side here because you know how deep that is. So you put your coil in right about 5.5, flip it over, cut the leads,
and you'll have a little bit of leeway because, metal stretches, so on and so forth. With decks that have a little bit more wiggle room, I tried to cut them a little longer. So what I did with these is I went ahead and went to 6. So if you look at it this way, there's some wiggle here. But it's because, if you look this way, some people say do it this way. That's right at 6. But what my experience with the Nightmare is I cut it right to the post, and it tended to be a little too short. And in order to pull them out to get them hitting just right, in my opinion, I think it was stretching the metal too much. And these are Ni90. It's a very soft metal, so I don't want to ruin those beautiful coils. So yeah, essentially we're going to go ahead and throw the coils in. We're going to wick it. We're going to throw in, of course, some scones. Throw it up on the suicide here. Make a nice little, I would say matchy, but completely different color. But I know that this and that looked beautiful together. And speaking of that 30 millimeter, let's see if this what happens if you put a 30 millimeter Asgard on a topside dual for way too long. It will scratch that top fill cap. So this should be possibly a lot better. But all right, let's get this rolling.
Alright, so we're back up with the Valhalla Mini, Valhalla 28. If you go to our website, don't look up Valhalla Mini, it's Valhalla 28. Let's keep calling it the Mini. But so a couple things out of ways, 28 millimeters. As you know, price right around $60. You can find it, of course, Vaperz Cloud's site, a lot of third-party places, EV cigarettes, vaping lights, stuff like that. But for pros and cons, literally on pros, there's a lot this time. With, like I said before, with the Nightmare, I liked it. It was good. It didn't hit all the little check marks that I liked, like the Asgard did, Asgard 30 millimeter at that time. Because in my opinion, the Asgard 30, being a couple millimeters bigger, was still producing, I think, better flavor, and that was due to more of the condensed chamber. So with this, they didn't change any of that. So the deck is still the same. It's still got kind of swoop angle, but undercoil airflow, which can trap a lot of flavor. But for me, it was just, even trying to cut it down, it wasn't good with the original Nightmare comparatively. Again, compared to the Asgard. Now, what they've done with this, same deck and everything, but they used the old Valhalla cap. And of course, the Valhalla had 4 or 5 rows of airflow. So they just shrunk it down to the 2 rows, honeycomb style. Most of the time, I'm literally rocking this like just a touch closed. Like if this is fully open, I just barely turn it like that. It probably closes off 4 to 6 holes. Works really well even on a really warm build. Just helps condense it a little bit more. And the flavor is really good. It's to the point that this is probably my go-tos are almost always Asgard Mini, then Asgard 30. This is going to probably be like Asgard Mini, Valhalla 28, and then Asgard 30. So it's a little bit better than the full-size Asgard in my opinion, which is saying a lot because I use those things every single day. Works really great in squonk mode. The only thing I have not done is actually, because there's enough room in there, is put the solid pin in there and then run it on a stack in series mode. Haven't done that yet. May or may not. If I do, definitely catch the TRV Crew Show live on Friday nights at 7:30 Central. One of these weeks, I will probably go ahead and throw a series built in by Triple C and throw it on a stack, and we'll go from there. So probably on like the MDX because it's like a 28 millimeter tube. So definitely watch that for later. But as of now, regular coils, yeah, it's killer. It's killer. It even is even a little bit better in my opinion using the tip from the Mongrel RDA than the stock tip. The stock tips are great. I use them on the Asgards all the time. I don't know why this one it's a better mouthfeel to me. So as of options on, of course, colors, typical Vaperz Cloud, Suicide, they usually have a couple colors when it first comes out. And then they'll start releasing more and more, usually a little bit later on. This one, I'm not sure. I know they do it with the Asgard a lot and stuff like that, but I know, at least as of this recording, you can get it in 24 karat gold, brushed stainless steel, gunmetal, matte black, and stainless steel. And this is that polished gunmetal. So it does not list that on their site, but the site that I got it, they did say this is the new polished gunmetal, which will look really good if you got the polished or the gunmetal version of the Suicide. Would go together really well. Even though this will hold up to a 30, the 28 still does not look bad at all because of the step from 33 to 28. And for most people with the Asgards, there's two streets. There's either the people that say, hey, I want a solid pin because that squonk plug thing just leaks on me all the time. And then there's some that have never had a problem. I'm on the right hand of the street. I have several Asgards that I use on a daily basis, and all but one have the squonk plug for it. I've never had a leaking issue, so I was really stoked that they kept with that squonk pin design in there. Now, if you don't like that or you're not going to use it in a squonk, definitely put that solid pin in there. That way you never have an issue. But it's definitely found a good home on the topside dual, because I used to use the 30, Asgard 30 on it, and it would scratch it up a lot because this 28 fits on there perfectly. So, yeah. So tons and tons and tons of pros, not really any cons, because the only con I really had technically with the Nightmare was the airflow. That's been fixed. So it's a different product, but it's been fixed. So, yeah, no, just hats off to friggin' Suicide Mods and Vaperz Cloud. They are just banging out some terrific product here the last probably year, but they're really starting to really put some gas on the fire now. So they're doing some really good stuff. So, but yeah, so definitely if you can use a 28 millimeter RDA, like I said, $60, go pick up one. But that is all I got today for the Valhalla 28, or what I call Valhalla Mini. I just want to thank each and every one of you yet again for coming to Vape with the Viking, and I'll check you later.